As we roll on towards week 5, remember the bye weeks are here. You're going to be missing quarterbacks this week like Michael Penix Jr. and Aaron Rodgers.
Are we really going to be missing them?
All right, well, whether you miss those guys or not, look, there are some quarterbacks that are out, still some injuries here to deal with. You're going to need help figuring out who to start, who to sit, and at tight end. We got you covered. Here's start sit for week 5. And those teams on bye are the Falcons, the Steelers, the Bears, and the Packers. There are still some must starts at quarterback, regardless of matchup. Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, and Jaden Daniels, if he plays. At tight end, just Trey McBride.
If we've helped you at all this season, we ask one small favor from you. Please hit that subscribe button down below. We're on the road to 100K subscribers this year. I know we can do it. There are a lot of people who watch this channel regularly that are not subscribed. If you're one of those people, do us a massive solid. Take 1 second, hit that subscribe button.
All right, so for that Thursday matchup, we're going to have the 49ers taking on the Rams. Well, 49ers got Brock Purdy back, but he's feeling a little discomfort after the game. Don't know if this is going to become a thing because, that is the 49er thing to do, right? Is to get hurt. So, Chris, here we go. Brock Purdy, if he plays, do you play him? And if he doesn't, do you roll out Mac Jones again?
Man, Brock Purdy looked brutal on Sunday. I can't imagine that toe is anywhere close to 100%. And then saying oh, it's, not feeling good. Yeah, cannot feel good about Brock Purdy. I think you can stream Brock Purdy this week if he somehow gives it a go, but I'm not feeling great about it. If it's Mac Jones, I'll say super flex. We don't even know who the wide receivers are going to be for the 49ers. He is super flex only.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, like you're saying, even though if you look at the stats, Purdy had a pretty good game. Sure, he threw a pick or two, but if you actually watched him play, he missed a lot of throws, looked bad. The receiver situation. He's a streaming candidate, but not my favorite this week. And then on the other side, we got Matt Stafford. Well, coming off his best game of the season by far, he put up a lot of numbers, but now he gets the 49ers.
Does get the 49ers, but he is at home, so that's nice here for Stafford. I feel last week he was better than a super flex option, but I feel like Stafford is just a guy who is just going to live in the super flex option. He can do what he did last week, but most weeks he's just going to be super flex.
Every once in a while, it'll happen. You can't count on it. Again, 49ers defense is still pretty good, and there is no rushing upside here, so he's still just a super flex option. Although I'll tell you what, even though he is probably not going to go for 375 yards again, I do feel pretty comfortable that he can go over 243.5 yards. I'll take the higher and underdog. That's the reason I bring that number up, because right now that's his line. Take the higher. Look, in 3 of 4 games, he has gone higher than 245 yards. And so even against a tough Houston defense, he put up that many yards. I'm going higher here. You can do it too. Combine this with a gimme pick. You get a free pick if you are new to Underdog trying it for the first time. Just make sure you use code ENDGAME with each sign up, because you still get a free pick. You also get deposit match 50% all the way up to $1,000 of bonus cash, and you get $100 of bonus funds as soon as you put $5 towards any pick. Just make sure you use code ENDGAME when you're signing up. So this week we have another international game. The Vikings are still across the pond, and they're taking on the Browns this time. So Carson Wentz is still the quarterback. It was a mixed bag for sure. Again, you look at the yardage and the touchdowns, it looks good. You look at the interceptions, it's pretty bad. So you got Wentz here, and then the tight end is TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, Wentz, I'm just going to say super flex. He can give you those garbage stats, I guess, right? Where you if you watch a game, you're like, wow, Wentz played really bad. But you look at the stats, you're like, oh, the stats aren't bad. And that's really all we care about for fantasy. So super flex here, even though this is a tough Browns defense. And then Hawkinson, just a streamer here again. We saw Addison get back in the fold. It is a tough defense. I don't think they're going to be playing from behind like they were last week. So just a streamer for Hawk.
Yeah, I think Hawk can at least be a streamer. Got some upside here. With Wentz, that's the thing, is he did throw it quite a bit last week because they fell behind early. Didn't expect that. I definitely don't expect it against the Browns. Come on, is anybody going to fall behind early against this Cleveland offense? So, I think he was inaccurate enough. I know he's got Jefferson and Addison and all that, but I'm going to sit Wentz. Now, on the Cleveland side, we are finally seeing a changing of the guard. Let's see how Dylan Gabriel fares in his NFL debut in London. All right, thoughts on Gabriel against this Vikings defense, and then does that mean anything different for the tight ends here? We got Njoku and Fannin.
Well, I'll start with Gabriel. I mean, it can't be worse, I hope. But, man, I mean, come on. An overseas game against the Vikings defense? No chance I'm starting Gabriel in any format unless I'm just totally desperate. And then, look, the tight ends, at least with Flacco, we knew he would throw it to. Who knows how it's going to be with Gabriel here. So I think I'm just going to sit everybody on the Browns this week except Quinshon Judkins.
Yeah, that's a good move in general. I don't think it really matters right now which quarterback is playing because it's just not a great passing offense. Look, I'll just say I'm kind of tired of this whole split with the tight ends. I don't want to start either of them until I see some upside. Maybe Gabriel throws it more to his fellow rookie or just tight ends in general, but I definitely need to see it first. And of course, there's no way I'm risking Gabriel in any format this week.
Do you want to get advice from Pierre and myself at the tip of your fingertips? Start sit, waiver wire, trades, and more? Well, you can do all of this and more on our new app, Draft Lane. We have the ability to view your roster, waivers, and more to give you the right feedback to make the perfect choice. Download Draft Lane from the App Store or Google Play, or use these handy QR codes. And first-time users can use code ENDGAME to get 10 free credits and get your questions answered today.
Right now, the main slate on Sunday, we're going to start with the Cowboys at the Jets. Hey, props Dak Prescott without CeeDee Lamb, man, putting up a fight, putting up a ton of points, and getting that hard-fought tie. But look, Dak showed something here, and believe it or not, Jake Ferguson actually found the end zone. So, how good are we feeling in this matchup?
How do we not put Jake Ferguson like as a must-start tight end right now? Like, how do you bench Jake Ferguson right now? Jake Ferguson, strong start, pretty much must-start. Dak's got to be solid against the Jets. I mean, this defense does not look very good. I mean, look what he did to the Packers. It's got to be solid.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, the only knock against Ferguson is that he hasn't scored a touchdown in like a year and a half. Well, there goes that. So, yeah, if you got Ferguson, you start him. And then as far as Dak, solid. Let's not go crazy, right? I don't know how much they're going to need to pass the ball against this Jets team, but he's still solid. Now, this Jets team managed to lose to the Dolphins last week. But still, Justin Fields gets fantasy points because this is what he does. He rips off long runs and scores touchdowns. And I don't think, was the whole problem here. But that said, it's the Cowboys here. I mean, you almost just want to feel even better about Justin Fields this week. But how far can you go?
I'm going strong start this week. I mean, we've seen every quarterback that has played the Cowboys have a great game for fantasy. I know Fields may not throw for, I know Fields is not going to throw for 300 yards against the Cowboys, but he could certainly run in a touchdown or two, throw for another touchdown. With his rushing upside in this matchup, he's got to be a strong start. And look, if you're struggling at tight end, Mason Taylor, 5 catches, 65 yards last week, probably still sitting out there on your waiver wire. I think he's worth a stream against the Cowboys.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, look, we keep talking about the lack of receivers for the Jets. Maybe their number 2 receiver is going to be the tight end, Mason Taylor. So I think he's on the streaming radar. And Justin Fields, I will say he's like the high end of solid for me. My only thing is, you're right, these quarterbacks have been carving up the secondary. How many pass attempts does Justin Fields actually have in him? You know, it's like, that's just not what he does, right? So he definitely could put together a game like last week, which means he'll be a QB1, but I don't think he's going to be like a top 5 quarterback. So very solid. All right, got Giants at Saints, the long-awaited matchup between Jackson Dart, Spencer Rattler. All right, so for the Giants side, look, Dart acquitted himself fairly well on his first start, somehow beat the Chargers. I still don't know how that happened. So, look, do you have some juice here? Because he's going to go against the Saints.
He's got juice. He runs. He could run in a touchdown. I mean, it would be better if he had Malik Neighbors. He had people to throw the ball to. I don't expect this to be a very high-scoring game, but I certainly think you could stream Jackson Dart this week just because of his rushing ability.
I mean, that's exactly how I described it on the waiver video. Because of the rushing upside, that's the draw here, and well, in the matchup too. But he's not going to be my favorite streamer, but if you're desperate, then yeah, I would take him over definitely a handful of other quarterbacks. Now, on the other side, Spencer Rattler, look, he has not been bad this year, but is he good enough for your fantasy team? And then what about Juwan Johnson? Looking like almost a must start and not looking like that last week.
No, finally had a down game, but look, everybody has down games, right? Like Tucker, everybody. You can't just all of a sudden out on Juwan Johnson. Now, if he does it again this week, we can start to get nervous. Still think Juwan Johnson's got to be solid here. Still think he'll get the targets. Rattler, super. Okay, I finally am putting him in the super flex tier, but barely super flex. And this is not really a great matchup against the Giants, so wouldn't surprise me if Spencer Rattler lays a big old egg this week.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know if Rattler will ever get above the super flex tier, but he at least deserves that. Juwan Johnson, agree. Let's keep him solid for now. This just isn't a great matchup for him, specifically, but he is still at least getting enough targets. This week, the Raiders are going to take on the Colts in Indy. There's a guy who definitely needs a reboot after last week. It's Geno Smith. And so, how far off the map has he fallen? But look, I think the real story here is we're going to talk about Brock Bowers. Yeah, I know you spent way too high of a draft pick on Brock Bowers, but look at what he's done for the past 3 weeks. We're not calling Brock Bowers an automatic set and forget.
No, we're not calling him a must start. Look, I would start Jake Ferguson over Brock Bowers, no doubt about it right now. I think you just have to. I think there's probably maybe a couple other tight ends I would start over him that we haven't talked about yet. So can't say Brock Bowers is a must start, but that said, I think he's still got to be a strong start this week. Do have to worry. I don't think he's 100% with that knee even close, and you got to worry about Geno Smith. What happened to this guy turning into a pumpkin? So still a strong start here. And then Geno Smith, again, barely even super flex here. This guy is looking terrible right now.
Yeah, Geno, like you said, barely super flex. As far as Bowers, a lot of people I saw were calling for a huge monster Bowers game because Michael Mayer was out, or he wasn't going to be playing. All the Brock Bowers. It's the Bears. Smash spot. Oh, he's 2 weeks removed from the injury. And none of that happened. Now, I think a lot of that was Geno, not Bowers, but still, that should concern you. This offense hasn't exactly been chugging along here. So that said, 9 times out of 10, I am starting Brock Bowers, of course, but I could see some scenarios where you aren't. So he's still a strong start, but not nearly as strong as you'd like. Well, how about for the Colts here? Got Tyler Warren at tight end. I mean, a lot of people think he should be a strong start. And then what about Daniel Jones?
Yeah, I would say, Tyler Warren, I think, has got to be a strong start, and I would definitely start Tyler Warren over Brock Bowers right now. This guy got 2 almost goal line carries last week. Look, first it was Daniel Jones getting down Tyler Warren. It's strong start here for Tyler Warren. You got to have him locked in your lineup. Daniel Jones this week, I'm only going to say solid here. I know it's the Raiders, but look, we thought okay, Caleb Williams gonna have a great game against the Raiders. They got a lot of pressure on Caleb Williams. Max Crosby was kind of wrecking that game, so I'm just gonna say solid for Daniel Jones.
Yeah, I didn't feel the huge Danny Dimes game last week, again, some people were calling for. I think it's this week. Back at home, this Raiders team, yeah, not scared at all. Max Crosby is a little frightening, but I think they'll account for him enough, and Daniel Jones can escape pretty well out of the pocket. It's been too long. He hasn't run for a touchdown. Let's get at this game. Strong start. Next up, Dolphins at Panthers. All right, so Tua now, I don't know, for better or worse, I'm not quite sure, is not going to have Tyreek Hill anymore to either throw to or to complain to him. So what does that mean for Tua? And Darren Waller is back on the map. Darren Waller, yes, the rapper, caught 2 touchdowns on Monday night. So do you have to seriously consider Darren Waller?
Look, Tua lost Tyreek, but he gained Darren Waller, right? I think he's going to certainly miss Tyreek. No, Tyreek is not the guy, we saw in his prime, but he's still a pretty good player. He's going to miss him. I can only put Tua as super flex here. Can't feel great about him this week. And look, I don't think Darren Waller is going to score 2 touchdowns again. He might not score a touchdown the rest of the year. Who knows? But at least we saw something last week. You can stream him if you want.
Yeah, after actually seeing that game, I do have to put him back at least on the streaming tier here. Darren Waller, that is. Tua, I'll put him on the streaming tier too. Why not? It's the Panthers. Go for broke. They're at least throwing the ball quite a bit. I do think the Panthers will at least challenge the Dolphins defense enough. They'll have to throw enough here. You know what? Maybe this is a good thing for Tua. So on the flip side, got Bryce Young, and look, Tommy Tremble is at tight end because of the JT Sanders injury. Tommy Tremble found the end zone as well. So do you consider him?
No, I mean, wasn't that garbage time with Andy Dalton? I'm not starting Tommy Tremble. This seems too much here. Bryce Young, super flex, I guess. Who knows what we're even going to get? I mean, got benched for Andy Dalton last week. Like, oh man, who knows what we're going to get? But it is the Dolphins. It should be a good spot for him. But I can only put him in the super flex tier.
Well, I don't know if it was a benching so much as just like the game was out of hands. Like it wasn't a good showing. This Panthers team is like Jekyll Hyde. Who knows? They're at home. It's the Dolphins defense. I feel like this is a bounce back spot. It's the Dolphins defense. I think Bryce Young is streamable if you need him. Now let's talk Broncos at Eagles. All right, Jalen Hurts, again, don't question it. You start him regardless of matchup. Now, Bo Nix, a lot of people were concerned heading into this past week. Came out with a pretty good stat line, but then again, it was the Bengals, and this time it's the Eagles. So, what do we do with Bo Nix if he's your quarterback? And then what about Evan Ingram, who is healthy?
Yeah, Evan Ingram healthy, got a little bit involved, but I mean, not a ton here. And it is the Eagles, so like a low-end streamer, not my favorite, but you could stream him. Bo Nix, yeah, we liked Bo Nix last week, said yes to him a lot. This week, probably going to say no to him a lot. It's on the road in Philadelphia. I know Baker Mayfield just had a nice game against them, but like two long broken plays, and the Bucs will just chuck it, right? The Bucs will chuck it. I don't know if the Broncos are necessarily going to do that. I'm going to say Bo Nix just super flex this week.
I'm with you. I mean, Evan Ingram is like barely a streamer, like very low end. Nix, better off not as a streamer, so save him for super flex if needed. And just when you forgot again about Dallas Goedert, scores twice in week 4. What does he do against the Broncos?
Yeah, who knows? Like, I mean, he's involved, right? It's not like he's not involved. He's involved. I mean, they basically schemed up easy touchdowns for him last week. So I certainly think you should feel good streaming him. And if you've been streaming him, you could probably just keep rolling with him.
Goddard's always that volatile streamer. He usually either has a pretty big game or a nothing game. Who knows? It's not a great spot for him specifically, but he's still at least streamable. Next up, we got the Texans at the Ravens. Now, as far as Houston, you've been not wanting to start CJ Stroud at all. Finally showed something last week, and this Baltimore defense has shown absolutely nothing. So, that said, I know you can't feel that good about CJ Stroud.
I actually feel pretty good about CJ Stroud this week. Look, what, 2 touchdowns last week? Now he gets this Ravens defense where like half the defense is out with injury right now. Like, I can't go crazy with CJ Stroud, but I actually think if you need to, you can consider streaming CJ Stroud this week. And I still can't consider Dalton Schultz, so.
Yeah, Schultz is probably not your best option. I think he's, again, kind of like Evan Ingram, barely a streamer if you really can't do better. I need to see a little bit more CJ Stroud. I know the Baltimore defense is bad, but look, Tennessee's defense is probably just as bad, maybe worse. That's why CJ Stroud had an okay game. I just don't feel the upside to say he's more than super flex just yet. And then for Baltimore, the rare but still equally frustrating tight end timeshare, or whatever you want to call it. Got Mark Andrews, got Isaiah Likely, and you never know who's going to hit, if anyone. So, do you like either of them this week?
Can't feel great against the Texans here. I mean, let's hope Lamar plays, of course, but you could always stream Andrews. Not my favorite streamer this week, and I still can't go there with Isaiah Likely.
Yeah, Isaiah Likely, we need to see something first. Again, Texans defense is legit. Mark Andrews, I can't just take him completely off the streaming radar, but again, barely streamable. Now, speaking of the Titans, they're going to go to Arizona this week to face the Cardinals. Look, the one tight end you pretty much don't have to worry about is Trey McBride, so keep him in your lineup. You can worry about everything in Tennessee, and that goes for, right now, again, fantasy, Cam Ward, Chig Okonkwo, etc. Any scenario where they're startable?
No, I mean, Luck's into a touchdown. I don't know, but I mean, Cam Ward, he throws one touchdown, not really startable. I can't do it with these guys, no.
No, definitely need some more time to pass here, some coaching changes, some personnel changes. There's a lot of changes that need to happen here. Okonkwo had been getting targets until last week. Yeah, it's just a mistake to trust this offense. All right, then there's Kyler Murray. Never know exactly what to expect from him. Was looking really bad until the very end of last week. Still not great for fantasy, though.
Not great for fantasy, but at least he is rushing a little. And it's the Titans. We just talked about it with CJ Stroud. Like, he had his best game of the season against them. He's at home. I think Kyler Murray can at least be solid this week.
He should be solid. I don't want to trust Kyler Murray. I think he's a streaming candidate. I'd like to do better. All right, now it's the Bucs and the Seahawks here. Baker Mayfield just doesn't care, does he? Doesn't care who's hurt, doesn't care who's out there, doesn't care the defense. He slings it, and good things somehow happen. So, on paper, in Seattle, this is a really tough matchup. But doesn't matter with Baker.
I don't think it matters. Like we said last week, like, ooh, this is risky, but it doesn't matter with Baker Mayfield. He's not the safest solid starter this week, but he's still got to be solid.
I think it just has to at least be solid. He'll throw deep, he'll run with it, he'll do what it takes. He won me over finally, Baker Mayfield. So, all right, he's a solid start even in a tough matchup. Cade Otton is never a solid start, or at all. Now, for the Seahawks, I will say, kind of talked up Sam Darnold a little bit. I think this could be a good spot for him. This game might have a little bit of back and forth. You feel that same way?
Yeah, look, Sam Darnold's been good this year. I know he hasn't had necessarily a bunch of big fantasy games, but he's been good. They're probably going to have to throw the ball more than they had to throw the ball last week against this Bucs offense. So I'm going to say Sam Darnold, solid this week. And Elijah Arroyo had a pretty nice game last week, but I'm not chasing that.
Yeah, that's what I'm feeling. I think Tampa might kind of force Seattle into a little bit more of a high-scoring game than they've been having. You don't think that typically with Seahawks. Maybe this week is different. So I think Darnold is at least solid in this case. Arroyo, I love Arroyo, but it's too soon. All right, Lions at the Bengals. Could get ugly here, at least if you're a Bengals fan. So look, Cincinnati's back at home. I don't know how much that's going to help them. Could Jared Goff had another one of these big games, even on the road? And then Sam Laporta, he's usually solid. Do you feel like he's more than that?
I'm just going to say solid this week. Look, the Bengals typically do give up a lot to tight ends, although we haven't necessarily seen it, be consistent this year. And Sam Laporta has not been involved in the offense the last few weeks, but this is a get-right spot. He's got to be solid. And then Jared Goff, there's certain defenses like the Cowboys, the Ravens until they get healthy, the Bengals, where if I got a QB that's playing one of those defenses, I'm not thinking about it. I'm just firing them up. They're probably going to go nuclear. Jared Goff, strong start this week.
Yeah, ever since that really disappointing season opener, Goff has been great. Why would he not be great against this Bengals team? He's a strong start. I almost want to put Laporta as strong because this matchup, but like you said, we need to see more consistent target share. So he's at least a high-end solid option. Definitely not going to say the same for Jake Browning, assuming he's even still the quarterback next week. That's all they got, right? Okay, so can you consider Jake Browning even in Superflex?
No. You just can't right now. No.
I don't think he can. It wasn't horrible last week, but then again, how many points did they score? This week, we're going to see the Commanders take on the Chargers, hoping for the return of Jaden Daniels. If so, I think you just got to start him again. If he is still not good to go or there's a setback, whatnot, then it's going to be Marcus Mariota again. Look, Mariota has been more than serviceable the last couple of weeks, but on the road against the Chargers, not a great spot. And then Zach Ertz has been, not as good as we expected.
Well, he was good the first game, not great last week, but I'll say Marcus Mariota, just going to keep him in the Superflex tier. This is a tough matchup on the road, but he runs, he could score a touchdown, and Zach Ertz is one of these guys. I think if I have Zach Ertz, he's just kind of in my lineup.
Yeah, I'm not feeling that good about Zach Ertz. He's a streaming candidate, maybe, I guess, a little on the higher end compared to some of those other tight ends. But it's just not a great matchup. But also, as far as Mariota goes, I can't ever put him as more than a super flex option. But he's at least that. And Justin Herbert, his first, what you could say, down game of the season last week. And lost to the Giants. I'm still not sure how that happened. But look, I don't think this is going to sour us on Justin Herbert for this week.
No, not going to sour us. But what is souring me a little bit is, okay, they lost Rashawn Slater in the offseason. Now they just lost Joe Alt to a high ankle sprain. This offensive line is taking a beating right now. But they're at home against the Commanders. So this isn't a matchup where you really have to worry about him getting a ton of pressure on him, and they're terrible against the pass. I think he's still got to be a strong start.
I think we keep him in the strong tier for now. He's still throwing the ball quite a bit. Got great receivers across the board. I think I'll keep him in the strong tier at least this week. Now, the Sunday night game is going to be the Patriots taking on the Bills. You got Josh Allen, you're good. What about if you have Drake May? The Pats looked good last week. May ran for a touchdown. Hunter Henry, touchdown. How many touchdowns can we get here in Buffalo?
Well, I think if we're going to get a lot of touchdowns in Buffalo this week, it's going to either be rushing the ball, which, Drake May can do, or in garbage time, which could happen here. So I don't feel nearly as good about these guys this week as I did last week. But Drake May still, I think, a streaming option, but like a very good streaming option. And Hunter Henry, at this point, I said it last week, if you got Hunter Henry, how do you bench him? I'll say it again this week. If you got Hunter Henry, how do you bench him? He's solid.
Henry always has that touchdown upside, as we know. The target share is inconsistent, but look, he is a tight end, so let's just be realistic here. So I think he's solid as far as tight ends go, and Drake May, definitely don't feel as good about him as last week, of course, but he's at least a decent streamer. Now, speaking of touchdowns, Dalton Kincaid also found the end zone again. I think he's already matched last year's total. But that said, I think some people might get a little carried away here. Now you've got to start Dalton Kincaid. Do you have to?
I don't think you have to start Dalton Kincaid, but there's nothing wrong with starting Dalton Kincaid. He's been pretty much good every single game. And look, it's the tight end position. Sometimes you need a guy to score to come through for you, right? It's not a position where you can count on a guy catching 8-9 passes necessarily, and not necessarily scared of this Patriots defense here. So I'll say Dalton Kincaid. Can't quite say solid this week, but a high-end streamer.
Well, the thing is, Kincaid did score, but that was his only reception, and it's worth noting that his snap share is not increasing. It's actually going down a little bit because they're seeing the rookie Jackson Hawes on the field more, not just Dawson Knox. So don't count on this. But that said, he's in a great offense, and so he's a high-end streamer. Then the last game of Week 5 is going to be the Chiefs taking on the Jaguars in Duval. All right. So maybe I was a little too concerned about Pat Mahomes. His demise in fantasy was a little exaggerated. Okay, so Pat Mahomes was pretty good last week, but on the road against Jacksonville, which does lead the NFL in takeaways this year. Are you worried at all about Mahomes? I know you're worried about Kelsey.
Yeah, definitely worried about Kelsey. I can't say outright sit Kelsey. He hasn't been horrendous here or anything, but just barely a streaming option. I got Mahomes solid. I just always feel solid about Mahomes, especially now with Xavier Worthy back. Yes, it's not as good a matchup as last week. Not even close, of course. Don't expect that again, but he's always solid.
Shouldn't have doubted him. All right, so Mahomes is still solid. Does have rushing upside as well. And Kelsey is still just a streamer. I think that's pretty much where he's going to stay at this season. Now, on the flip side here, the Jaguars, Trevor Lawrence. Look, props to Liam Cohen for doing a good coaching job in their Jacksonville. I still don't feel better about Trevor Lawrence on my fantasy team. I don't know about you. And Brenton Strange is still kind of just there.
Yeah, Brenton Strange is just going to live in that, you can stream him if you need to, range, but outside of the really smash matchups, not going to feel great about it. Trevor Lawrence, man, the Jaguars look good, and it's it feels like they're doing this in spite of Trevor Lawrence, right? It doesn't feel like Trevor Lawrence is having a big impact on the game necessarily, but they keep winning. But for fantasy, there's just not a ton here. It's super flex only for Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, this Chiefs defense is legit, especially the pass defense. So super flex is definitely as high as you can go, even in a home game. And the same thing for Strange. I think streamers as high as you can go. Or you need help for your Week 5 lineup at every position. We got you covered. Got all the videos you need to help you win right here in this playlist.